if you're joining me, you can see me. If not, well, this is the first time I'm streaming, so let's see how it goes. So welcome. This is my first live stream, and this is gonna be a live editing session, and then I'll come back next week as well. We'll see how it goes. So let's start. I'm gonna edit some images from last week. Visit to the Arnold Arboretum in Boston. I have a few images that I shot. I can't remember the name of these flowers, but let's start with creating a virtual copy. 1 second, let me see if I can put the chat beside there. Okay. Yeah, let's put the chat beside the Lightroom window. Okay, so the idea of creating the virtual copy here is that I want to compare auto settings before I start editing with the recently added adaptive preset, so we'll see how that goes. So let's go to the develop module. I'll do this one with an auto settings. If anybody knows what's the name of these flowers, please type in the chat or leave a comment. And then let's do this one with adaptive preset. This one, adaptive profile. These ones were recently added in Lightroom, and the difference is, let's see how they compare. Yeah, so it looks like the auto settings on the top here are more saturated, and I will explain why. Let's go look at them. But otherwise, not a huge difference actually between the two. Let's see. So if you go to the develop module, this is the image that was that auto was applied. So basically, you can see that it moved the sliders, made the adjustments, and you can see it increased the vibrance. That's why it looks like it's more saturated. But if you go to the one we applied, the adaptive preset, adaptive profile, you see that all the sliders are still zeroed out. This way you have more flexibility to edit, and that's the presets, the profiles are kind of the way that Lightroom interprets colors. So the adaptive profiles are a recent addition. Before that, it was let's go into the profiles, and you can see. So in Adobe Raw, these are the standard profiles, like Adobe Color, Adobe Landscape, Neutral, Standard, Vivid, and then you also have some other ones. Let's show them. Basically, camera matching means these are come from, because I shot on the Sony a6700. This is different profiles that they have in the camera, so that you can apply it post to the raw file. And then at the bottom you have all kinds of profiles, artistic. You can get like a different look if you want to start from there. I don't generally use them, but if you like this starting point, you can use them. And then recently Adobe added the adaptive color and adaptive black and white, and these are AI based, so it's kind of it tries to figure out what's the best starting point for specific image. Generally like them, they generally do a good job. So I think we'll use that one. Okay, so let's see. Let's turn this off to make the image bigger. Okay, let's see. There's a little bit of noise here, more than I would like. So maybe before I start editing, we'll do some denoise. Go to details, and then there's denoise. This only works in Lightroom with raw files, so if you have a JPEG, that wouldn't work. Let me move that a little bit out of the way. But it does a very good job generally on the raw files. Let's see. Sometimes you don't need much. You can kind of see how it makes it here. A preview. Probably I don't want to lose too much detail, so let's go to maybe 25, 30, something like that. The image is not super noisy, so let's do that. So as you can see here in the top, it does the denoise and it will create a DNG file. So basically it will create a stack of the image. It will hide the original image underneath, and so it's finished. If you go to the library, you can see the DNG here. That's the one that we will work. Let's see, together with the other one, we can look at the difference. So let's see. So let's start with the original before the denoise. It's not too bad, but in this area, let's see, there is a decent amount of noise. So let's go to the denoise one. Wow, this did a great job, so basically no noise remains there. Nice. Okay, so we're gonna work on these ones. At this point we can do some sharpening, because in case we lost a little bit of detail. So the way I do sharpening, I reduce the radius to the minimum, and then I press Alt while I'm doing the masking, and the masking will, as you move it, will show where it applies the sharpening. So we need to be kind of careful, because there is a bunch of places that we don't want it to sharpen, which are out of focus, so we don't actually want to sharpen them too much. But this one is okay, and we can do increase amount and increase detail a little bit. So, and it will also, when we adjust the local, we adjust locally the contrast, it will sharpen the image in that area as well. Okay, so this is done. We can kind of go from here. It's pretty balanced image. You can see that we have the entire range covered almost. There's a little bit of no whites, but we can start actually from here already with the masking and start adjusting stuff locally. So let's do a radial gradient on the flowers. With a decent amount of feather. So it's gradual transitions. And then we can increase the brightness. We can do maybe roll over the shadows a little bit, lower the blacks a little bit, increase the whites. And now when you do that, pay attention to the overall. Okay, if there is going to be clipping, it's going to show as a bright white triangle here or here. So if you have blacks clipped or the whites clipped, so we'll see that. Okay, so let's make a smaller mask, because so we actually have some flowers here in that are out of focus. So I want to be careful not to sharpen them. So let's add. Let's use the original one first. So if you go down to the effects part of the masking, you have texture, clarity, and dehaze. These are contrasts at different levels. So if we add texture, it will actually sharpen the image apart from adding contrast. So it's a small size detail, so it will sharpen stuff. But we can add a little bit of clarity and a little bit of dehaze. So it makes it a little more saturated and also a little darker, so we can increase. See here we start seeing in the whites we start seeing clipping, so we can just brush it off. Have a brush, reduce the exposure a little bit, and just dab it here. The brush is what's going on? Where is that? And you see, we brushed it on a little bit. Oh, we did. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I want to use auto mask, so let's delete this one and start from again. So if I do auto mask, that means it will not apply to the where there is a contrast. So as long as the X is outside the flower, it's gonna just apply to the background here, and that's what I want. Since it's relatively low flow, that's okay. That looks good. Okay, so now let's add another radial gradient, but just to the flowers in the middle, the ones that are sharper. And what I want to do is to add a little bit of texture. So let's see, let's look up close. Let's see on and off. Yeah, you can see the veins a little bit. Yeah, we could, so basically what texture does is increases local contrast to the small details, which kind of brings out the details here. So this is okay. Okay. Okay, and then okay, what else? So we want to maybe add a little bit of a light from light kind of came from behind, from top left. So let's do radial gradient. Let's reduce the size here. Make it 100% soft. Kind of like a little bit of Orton glow. Okay, and then in this one we'll do negative dehaze, maybe negative clarity a little bit, bring the highlights down a little bit, and then bring up a little bit of an exposure and maybe lights, and then add a bunch of warmth, which is the sun basically, right? So that overall, we can adjust the temperature overall kind of outside of that. So yeah, maybe we want to brush off a couple kind of out of the light a little bit. And then we can okay. So what I also want to do, let's duplicate and invert. I want to kind of darken the outside a little bit. Well, quite a bit outside the main image. And we also want the overall image to maybe be a little bit cooler. And then our warm light is going to be more noticeable. Okay, so what else? I want to kind of darken the background a little bit more. So the bright areas, let's do a brush, let's do auto mask. Just to darken the brighter area of the background. So, and we can also bring out the flowers a little bit in a sec. It's just kind of emphasize this. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a dodge and burn here. We'll do brush, increase the whites, maybe increase the temperature a little bit, maybe highlights a little bit. Okay. Let's move this here for a little bit. We'll go back. I think I want to darken this area a little bit. Okay, so I want to brighten some of the area of these leaves, and then I want to darken some other ones. So let's do. So because I'm at 25% flow, I can kind of brush a little bit, and then it will gradually. So areas that I want affected more, I can brush more, and areas that I want to affected less, I can affect less. And then if I don't like the effect, I can kind of reduce the effect later. So let's do darken this area a little bit. So this way it looks like there is a little bit of a depth to that flower. What else? So I want to darken this area a little bit, the outside, and then I want to brighten that one actually. And also the top here. And just to add a little bit of depth. So let's see before and after for this one, for these two. So this is before and this is after. Up, before and after. And this one, yeah, before, okay, so kind of bring out a little bit. Okay, so what else I want to do? Let's bring one a little bit of bright here as well. And also I want to kind of brighten this area a little bit, as if there is light from here. Then on the other hand, I do want to darken this area. Okay, so the corner is a little bit dark, I think. So here, just very little bit. And this is not. Okay, so very little. Okay, looks good. I think this is more or less done. Let's see. Let's do the overall before and after. Okay. 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 So the before is already after, I think after the profile was applied. So it wasn't bad, but this one is actually quite nice now. So there is depth, there is a little bit of light. So what we can do, let's put 3 stars to that one. we know that this is the one we edited. Let's compare this one to the other two. So the one with the flag is going to be the one that had the profile applied to it, but before we edited it. So let's do the survey. Okay. So this is our final image. This is the one where we applied automatic editing, and then this one was the one with the profile, but before we edited. I quite like the image. That's nice. Didn't mean to. Okay. So what I want to do, give me 1 second. Let's see. What are we saying? Okay. Okay. Let's go back. So what I want to do, let's go into Photoshop and see what would happen if we apply a Norton effect to it. Okay, so fit screen. Let's minimize this one as well so we can see if there is a chat. Okay, so fit screen. Okay, so to create the Norton effect, we'll duplicate the layer, apply a blur, Gaussian blur. So now the radius is usually, like as a rule of thumb, is the pixel count of your camera. And in this case, this was Sony 6700, so it's 26 megapixel. And now let's switch it to lighten. You can see it looks kind of weird, but that's okay. We'll turn on the opacity, and then we want to add brightness and contrast layer to attach it to the top layer. So I'll click this icon here with the attachment, and then increase the exposure to about 20. It's okay, it's not accurate, and then contrast to about 80. So you see that this layer is attached to the layer where we applied the Gaussian blur. Okay, so but it's way too strong, so we want to reduce the opacity of this layer to about somewhere between 20 and 30%, and we can see how it kind of looks. Okay, so if at 20%, we can kind of see it softens up the image and glows a little bit. So maybe we want to remove some of the effect from some of the areas that we don't want to. Let's do 50% opacity, 25% flow, and then kind of brush it here a little bit. So the sharp area will be less affected. So this is before, this is after. It's pretty subtle, so but yeah, looks pretty good. That's it. Save this image. Go back to Lightroom. This is our final image. Let's mark it as 4. Let's compare it to the one without the Orton glow. The effect is very subtle. It's just a slightly bit softer than the one on the bottom. Either works. I guess it's kind of a personal preference, I think. Okay, so this one is done. We can do another one, or we can do something else. Let's do this one. Yeah, so this is a grist mill in West Virginia. It's pretty well known grist mill. So what I wanted to do is to actually take these 5 images and combine them into an HDR. So these are bracketed images. I could probably get away with combining fewer than these, but it's okay. I already have 5. So let's do HDR merge. I will check that there are no artifacts and the image is still sharp. And then in Photoshop we're gonna combine them, and I will take one of the images for the water and blend it in, because it's I like the water flow at around ½ second exposure. So we'll take that image and blend just the area of the flowing water. Okay, when you do the HDR merge, it looks at there is a deghosting effect because there is a flowing water here. I'm not super concerned because I'm gonna merge the water from a single image there anyway, so but it's fine. So it's creating HDR image here. Once it's done, it's gonna be a DNG file available for us. Here you see that it's a DNG file. Let's mark it with 2 stars that we are editing. And go into develop module. Okay, I don't want to have to. Okay, so I quite like this image. You have the leading line of the water and also the bridge here. I do have a slightly wider version, so after I'm done here, I might combine it with a. I have a shot where it goes a little to the left and showing the entire tree. So maybe we'll see. But anyway, let's see what the adaptive profile gives us this time. That's quite good, actually. So let's see what happened if Adobe Color versus adaptive profile. Not too much of a difference. There is a difference in the sky, which is nice. That means that I won't have to work on the sky too much. So we do have some areas in blue that are blown out. I'm assuming it's in the sky. The way to check, I don't see any red showing, but the way to see it is to press Alt and then increase the whites here. So wherever the blue starts to show, that's where there is a blown out stuff. So it's somewhere here. So we can just kind of reduce it, maybe reduce the highlights slightly, and then you see the clipping indicator, it disappeared. So we also have clipping on the blacks. Do the same thing, pushing out and then do the blacks. I don't really see. Oh, the other way. So the first one that starts to show here in yellow, it's underneath those rocks. Okay, so I'm not super concerned about that. We can maybe increase the shadow, raise the shadows a little bit. That area is really not concerning me. We can also go to the tone curve. I like usually just adding a couple of anchor points here, raising the blacks slightly to basically soften it. So now not real blacks, it's kind of grayish now. So, but we can also reduce the whites slightly, and then maybe add an S-curve, add here, and now you actually can see it just pops this image. This is nice. Okay, there's a ton of detail in that image, so let me just put a mask on that area, just reduce the highlights a little bit so the clipping disappears. Okay, and we'll increase a little bit of that area because this is interesting. This is so vivid, and I haven't even added any any texture and clarity. So let's add that. That will give us, there's a ton of details, there's a ton of small leaves. Be a little bit careful. Too much dehaze will make the image crunchy, so, and maybe also clarity. Very little. Let's take a look at in details to make sure that we're actually sharp. So the building is sharp. There's a little bit, maybe there is a movement in the trees. So maybe rocks are super sharp. Well, here is probably a little bit on the soft side because it gets close. Let's see. This softness might be because of the lens and the corners actually. Let me check. So let's go to a version that's relatively bright. So we can check if the corner. No, the corner, it's like that. Yeah, okay. So the image is okay. There might have been some movement a little bit. What did I do? So it's kind of a little crunchy. I want to actually maybe dehaze, negative dehaze a little bit. Well, we'll soften the area that we want. Okay, so let's add the light from coming from the outside. So we want to add negative clarity, negative dehaze, maybe a little bit of positive clarity, reduce the highlights, and then increase the whites, and add a lot of warmth. And then let's go back to the overall image and reduce the temperature a little bit. Not sure I like the light. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not for this one. Let's just do a radial gradient here in the middle. It is somewhat similar without going to the other stuff. Reduce highlights, increase warmth. Kind of just to have that. Okay, I want to go to the HSL, to the color mixer. Let's do luminance. Let's see yellows. I actually want to make the greens darker, yellow slightly brighter, or red and oranges, it's okay. But I do want to saturate the yellows quite a bit, the oranges and reds, and maybe the greens as well. If we go to the overall, to the basic, let's see. Okay, so I want to kind of add a little bit here of the color of the wheel. Yes, here. Actually, I want to, okay, maybe we'll do it in the in a Photoshop rather than here. I also don't like this corner. Something is going on in that corner. I'm not sure what. Let's make this area brighter. You know what? I want to check out the new masks. There should be select landscape. Let's see. This is a new feature that just came in Photoshop. I'm curious what it will do. Sorry, Lightroom. Come on. Okay, so I want water. Oh, perfect. Wow. That's good. That selected the water. Okay, so I want to increase contrast. I want increase clarity and dehaze a little bit. And maybe also bring out the shadows a little bit, so make it a little brighter. Okay, so let's also. I know that I'm gonna introduce the whites from a different image, but I'm gonna copy the actual settings from this image, so they match. So let's do a mask here, and then I only want to work on the water. So let's intersect mask with color range and do these guys. Okay, and maybe intersect mask with luminance range. Yep, almost perfect. Okay, so let's change the color of the overlay so I can see it better. Okay, so I want to let's do subtract brush, make the brush 100% flow. Don't want this area, don't want the rocks at all. I don't want the rocks here either. I only want the flowing water. Okay, and that's good. So now what I want to do is basically add contrast and a bunch of texture here. Maybe reduce the whites a little bit. Don't want them so white. And also maybe reduce the saturation. It starts to be a little too blue. Okay, looks pretty good. We'll try to do some stuff in Photoshop as well. Okay, before we move on, I think most of the other stuff I would do just do in Photoshop. Let's add a vignette by adding radial filter. Invert it, and then just reduce the exposure just a little bit, so half a stop, a little bit over half a stop. Okay, this looks pretty good. I do want a little bit, so let me maybe add, let's see if we can, before we go to Photoshop, let's do 25% brush, increase contrast, and increase temperature. And then do these guys, areas that I want. And also increase the whites a little bit. Maybe not as much. also maybe increase that saturation. Okay, and now I also want kind of burn a little bit. Reduce the shadows, reduce the blacks a little bit, and then brush it on these areas. Maybe like that. So also let's do auto mask here and do the power. Let's just to add a little bit of 3D to our mail. Okay, yeah, let's increase this. Yeah, I want to actually bring out that bridge a little bit. Just let's see, before and after. Yeah, okay. That looks pretty good. What else? Oh, this one. Yeah, this mask I want here. And then the other one I want to. Okay. Wait, these guys even more. And the top of the trees a little bit. Let's see that we don't get any artifacts there. Yeah, looks good. Okay. I want to darken this area a little bit. A very tiny bit. Okay, and then I also want increase here. We basically did all the dodging and burning here, so we don't actually need much in Photoshop. And so let's brush a little bit here. And we'll, let's add a little bit of warmth there. Okay, yeah, looks good. Let me see. Okay, so we had that dodge layer. Let's add a little bit on the rocks. Maybe actually add this one. Maybe actually add this one. This path, okay. And then I want to actually, okay, And then I want to make these guys darker a little bit. Make these guys darker a little bit. Okay. Okay, come on. What is going on? Really? Okay. Really? Okay. Okay, I think we are done here. Worst case scenario, I will finish it in Photoshop. Okay, I think we are done here. Worst case scenario, I will finish it in I think the Lightroom, together with the broadcasting, is starting to struggle. Come on, you can do it. I think the Lightroom, together with the broadcasting, is starting to struggle. Come on, you can do it. Lightroom Classic. Try to reopen it. Let's close Lightroom Classic. Try to reopen it. Okay, we are back. Okay, we are back. Okay, yeah, we're back. I did want to maybe, let's see, to reduce the saturation just a tiny bit. Okay, yeah, we're back. I did want to maybe, yeah, okay, looks pretty good. Let's see, to reduce the saturation. Okay, so now we want to copy the settings to the one with the half second exposure, so we can. Okay, so now so we can blend the water in. Okay, and just copy all the settings and see. To the one with the half second exposure, so we can blend the water in. Okay, and just copy all the settings and see. Side by side to see if we need to adjust the exposure. Yep, that's perfect. Okay, so looks good. Side by side. Not a huge difference in terms of how the water looks. That's exposure took. Maybe we don't need to blend in. Perfect. Okay, so looks good. Not a huge difference in terms of. Now it kind of look quite nice. Okay, so maybe we don't. This actually looks pretty good. Fine. Then let's just add an Orton effect, and when we'll be done. Now it kind of look quite nice. Okay, maybe we don't. This actually looks pretty good. Fine. Let's just add an Orton effect. And you always see like that my computer starts to struggle a little bit. Okay, let's split screen. You see like that my computer starts to layer a little bit. Add Gaussian blur screen. Now this one is 33 because it's my Sony's A7 IV is 33 megapixel. Lighten and add the brightness and contrast because it's my Sony's A7 IV is don't forget to tie it to the layer and then just reduce the opacity, brightness and contrast. Let's see at around 23 what happens. Don't forget to tie it to the layer and just kind of then just softens it a little bit less, makes it a little less crunchy. Let's see. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot actually. Looks pretty good. The one thing I don't own. Okay. So the one thing I wanted to do before, let's turn it off, is remove this thing in the corner. I have no idea what that is. Okay. So the one thing I wanted to do before, let's turn it off, is remove this thing in the corner. Looks pretty good. Let's just add, let's darken it a little bit. Let's do this after. Okay, let's put this one on top. Okay, so this one I want to duplicate layer, filter, blur, this one on top. Okay, so this one I want lighten, opacity about 28%, and then tie this one to the layer. Okay, this one lighten looks good. About 6%. Okay, let's see. Okay, I might want to wipe the effect a little bit in some areas. So yeah, a little bit. Let's do. Okay, let's see. A little bit in the trees. Want to wipe it. I don't want them to glow too much. And a little bit in the water to retain the details. A little bit in the tree. Let's say. To wipe it. I don't want them to glow too much. A little bit in the water. Yeah, looks good. Okay, and then I want to darken the corner a little bit. Invert the layer. Yeah, looks good. Okay, and then I want to darken. And then just a little bit. Brush. Yeah. Invert the layer. Looks pretty good. I think we are done. Maybe. Okay, let me. Yeah. Let me try. Good. So let's do an empty layer. We are done. Actually, not empty. Sorry. Okay, let me. Let's do a solid color. Try. So let's do an empty layer. We want gray. We want. Let's do a solid color. We want 50% gray. Right. And then we want soft. Sorry, not hard white. Soft white. Right. And then right on this layer we want soft. We can do not hard white, soft white. Right. The dodge and burn, trying to do on this layer. We can do. I never tried this one. And dodge and burn, trying to do. Let's not do this. Let's add an empty layer. Just brush. Actually, we want kind of more yellow orangey. Let's add an empty layer. A little brush. We want it brighter, right? And then kind of more yellow orangey. Soft light. A little. We want it brighter. Opacity to 100, but reduce the flow by quite a bit. Soft light. Let's see if we can. Opacity to 100, but reduce the flow by quite a bit. Let's see if we can. Yeah, maybe. Okay. I think maybe. Okay. Try to overlay. Soften. Try to overlay. Soften. Let's wipe it off though. Where is it going now? Actually, don't wipe this effect here. Let's just wipe it off here. Let's wipe it off. Actually, don't wipe this effect here. Let's just wipe it off here. Okay, fine. What I want to do is just to add brightness and contrast here. Add a little bit of brightness, a little bit of contrast. And then invert the is just to add brightness and contrast. Oh, sorry. Invert this brightness and then just invert the invert this. Yep. And then maybe also add a little bit color bands here to make it warmer. Yep. Also invert, and then maybe, and then just also add a little bit here. Color bands here. Okay, so if we make it warmer, also invert, and just to bring out that. Okay, so if we that rock area. Okay, I think we are done. I'll take a look later, next day, see how it works. But so far, looks like we are done. We are done. I'll take a look later, next Let's do a before and after. But so far, looks like we are done. Go to. So this would be our final version, and then I want to create a virtual copy of this one that's before the edit. Let's go to, so this would be our final version, and then I want to create a virtual copy of this one that's before the edit. Just reset the edit. Except for lens corrections. You can reset the edit. So let's compare these three. This is gonna be except for lens corrections. So then on the right is before the edit. This one is edited in Lightroom. And this one is in the middle is the one there that I added the final touches in Photoshop. This one is not a huge difference between the two here, just a little softer, I think. The one from Photoshop, the one kind of there, just a little bit. That I added the final touches in Photoshop. Okay. Overall, pretty good, I think. Just a little softer. I think that's gonna be it for today. Thank you for watching if you're watching, and join me next week. Okay. Overall, pretty good.